Tonight's tactical enhancement is Japanese beer, brewed and bottled in China apparently, and then shipped to New Zealand. We're not in New Zealand, so I don't know how that works, but the game we're playing tonight was made in New Zealand. We're playing Team Yankee, and Emilio has brought his British, eagerly looking forward to a new book that we don't have yet, and I've brought the Polish. Alright, let's have a look at Emilio's British first. Talk us through it.
Yeah, so over here we've got 3 swing fire, which are fantastic against anti-tank. We've got our chieftain, and that's my leader there, the command. And then we've got hidden in the forest is my mechanised platoon. And then moving over, we've got...
That mechanised platoon appears to be sitting on an objective.
Yes, it is.
There it is. Hidden, sneaky little bugger.
And then 3 more chieftains together, and they're trying to get the best vision they can of the battlefields.
Yes, they've got a nice open field there to deny movement.
We've got a whole group of Milan in the top windows of this 2-storey building.
Veterans will tell us you never fire a Milan from inside a closed building, but it's make-believe. So.
And that's the tallest building in this battlefield. And then we've got another mechanised platoon actually on the ground floor of that building.
All right, so they're not actually sitting out there in the open, they're hiding inside, but these buildings don't take the lids off or anything, so they have to be shown outside.
Behind this building you can't really see it, but I've actually got, behind and inside, trapped rapiers. So anything that flies, hopefully I can down it, and that's in a strategic centre position with another objective just on the road.
There we are. Don't know why I put that there. It's incredibly easy to defend, but there you go.
And then you've got your Spartan MCTs here. So again, great against tanks. And moving over, we've got another couple of Milan, and we've got, from what I can see, no, these are strikers, and these are the
on the road.
Spartan MCTs.
Those are the Spartans.
Correction.
Yeah, all right. So lots of area denial, anti-armour, fun and games.
Yeah, so you're looking at 2 across the front. So not a lot of armour on these light vehicles, but they pack a punch. So anti-tank 21, and we go back to the striker. It's only 2 armour across the front, but anti-tank 23. So heavy hitting. In fact, they're even heavier hitting than my chieftains.
And might I say, that's an enthusiastic level of overkill for a bunch of Polish. Facing off against Emilio's British, we have some geckos who will probably do nothing all game because Emilio didn't bring any air. And we've got 4 transports hiding in the forest. And they belong to this platoon of infantry who are inside the building. But the building's a bit fiddly to try and put infantry in, so we put them on the roof just to represent where they are indoors. For some reason there's English signage in all these West German buildings, but we won't bother about that. And we have some hail rocket launchers on the far side of the service station. One of Emilio's custom objectives right here, which is really facing off down the road from my objective at the other side of the table. And bridging the gap between objectives, I have another platoon of infantry here, and their transports, BMP2s over here. Being a bit indecisive, looking to cover both objectives. And on this side of the table, we have Emilio's other objective, and a massive clusterfuck of everything all hiding in the one forest. Fortunately, Emilio did not bring any artillery, so I can get away with this. We've got another infantry platoon, BMP-1s, Shilka, whose job will be shooting up light infantry and armoured vehicles and whatnot because there's no aircraft. Some Danas, probably the coolest artillery in the game. And just a small platoon of 4 T-72s to provide a bit of mobile firepower. enthusiastic orders driven individuals here manning the commander's BMP. In addition to the stuff on table, I've got 2 frogfoot and 4 hind. It's a good thing about these Warsaw Pact forces is you get an awful lot of stuff for your points. Right, now Emilio has been waxing lyrical about his tactical thoughts. Perhaps if you can talk us through it.
Look, I've basically brought a force that is designed to defend. This force has got a lot of long-range, hard-hitting weapons, looking at the enemy and the enemy's position, hiding in forests and in buildings. I'm not in a position to hit him because I have no barrage weapons or any planes or choppers. And so it's going to force me to attack with the wrong set of tools. So it would make sense that I defend and Chris attacks so that it forces him out of those hiding positions, because I actually can't deliver anything at long range because I can't see him. Whereas I force him out of those positions, he actually will still be able to barrage attack me, but I've got targets to hit. At the moment, I actually don't have, in the first turn, any targets to hit, forcing me out of a defence position into an attack position, but I don't have the right tools to even attack because I actually brought a defence-based army.
Yeah, it's all those years of playing Warhammer 40,000 against Imperial Guard artillery lines has taught me to hide. So I haven't yet decided whether I'm going to attack and make Emilio's evening that little bit more pleasant, or whether I'll stay encamped and just hit him with artillery. Either tactical work, but I think there's something to be gained from Emilio's over-reliance on missile-based light vehicles, which really can't do very much against my infantry. So I might have to try and get a little bit cunning. Well, let's roll the dice now, figure out who does first turn, and highest dice roll gets first turn. Wow, that'll be you, Emilio. Okay. We'll check in again at the bottom of turn 1. The mission today, while I'm in between beers and thinking to actually remember it, is a free-for-all. So Emilio's moving in the first turn, but all of his stuff counts as moving, whether he actually moves or not. So his Milans are not going to achieve an awful lot. So he's moving up to attack up the guts. During Emilio's turn, he advanced up the guts with all of his infantry and is supported by his APCs, and he moved up his missile light armored vehicles to start getting some shots. Now, the first thing I've done in my turn is roll up some strike aircraft. I've brought in my hind. We're going to try and alpha strike these rapiers. If I can clean them out and have a few chaps left, then I can have some fun against his tanks without much right of reply. At the conclusion of turn 1, the aircraft strike wasted 3 out of 4 rapiers, and the last ones bailed. We managed to drop hails on these infantry here and killed absolutely nothing. We did have a pin 2 platoons. And over in that forest there, we dropped some Danas, and they also pinned infantry. Okay. But didn't kill anything. No casualties this turn. And the tactical enhancement is working very well. I completely forgot to move any of my other units. So I'm trying to convince myself that was a good thing to do and actually the wiser choice. We're at the bottom of Emilio's turn 2, and he's just fired every bloody thing he could get line of sight onto the infantry there, the infantry here, these BMPs, and he rolled such absolute garbage that he's killed nothing, and he barely even pinned these infantry. It's now the Polish turn 2, and we'll check in at the end of that.
You took 5.
So it's the end of Polish turn 2, and we've cleaned up a lot of these APCs. Some of them are the actual figures, some of them are stand-ins, but they do the job. I'm targeting those because once my infantry are in the open, all those Milans and missile teams won't be able to hurt them. So if I waste those transports, there's a whole lot less machine gun fire and the infantry can get on with their job. I brought out BMP-1s to help that out. They will probably die next turn, but if his missile teams are shooting the BMP-1s, then they're not shooting my infantry, who unfortunately are a little bit pinned right now. Over here, I've advanced my infantry up to start pouring up AK and grenade launcher fire into the infantry, and I'm thinning them slightly. My Hales managed to pin 2 platoons, but did not kill anything again. Actually, they killed 1 guy. That was alright. The Danas killed 2 infantry over there. That was alright. I've started to just edge out of the forest here. Take a few sneaky shots at the infantry, but they haven't achieved a lot yet. Now, you'll notice I took my helicopters off because the strike aircraft didn't come in, and I'll bring those choppers back on in a later turn, hopefully when the strike aircraft arrive. Now, it's the start of turn 3 for the British, and they have some dice rolls to make to see if their infantry unpin. So let's take it away. Those infantry in the forest. What's that?
That's a big one.
Oh, well, they're not going anywhere. Those Milans, how are they going?
2.
Oh, yep, they're still a little bit pinned as well.
Are they pinned?
They are. They took a casualty from artillery. Oh, and they're pinned as well. Well, that's a fantastic reprieve. And might I say, during the British turn 2, their shooting was absolutely fucking woeful. So I'll be thanking Emilio's dice tonight. It's the end of turn 3, and I've still not advanced, partly because I'm getting too enthusiastic about jumping to the shooting phase. In the shooting phase, we tried to reset the Dana's aim point. That did not work. The Hales have rearranged in over here to try and chase those pesky Milan teams that keep running away from my artillery barrage, but they're still pinned, they're not effective. We poured an awful lot of fire into these infantry in the building, and these British crack bayonet trippers here are thinning out. Another turn or 2 and they'll be gone completely. And we're further whittling down these machine gun toting infantry transports, and they're pretty soon going to be gone, I think. And I did, of course, lose that platoon of BMP-1s, but I'm not too worried about that. They did destroy some of those British transports in the process, which was the aim of the game. We're now starting turn 4 for the British.
Okay, well, things have changed. I'd have to say that Chris's aircraft haven't come back on the battlefield, which has given me a slight advantage because I don't have that harassing fire or the sort of numbers that he needs to do a flank charge. This flank's really important. There's a bit of a stalemate. I think there's sufficient firepower for me to hold this objective. He's holding, I'm holding, he's waiting for the right moment for that to happen. So we've got a stalemate on the left flank. In the centre, I actually think I'm taking charge of the centre, and the Brits have done the right thing to move forward and not sit back and defend and fight and shoot. They're actually moving forward to fight and shoot, and it's working for them. The Milan are pinned, but besides that, I think everything else is going to plan in the centre.
How's your casualties? How are they going to plan?
Look, I think there's still sufficient numbers not to be concerned at this stage. But if your aircraft come on, you've got some options. We'll see how that goes.
Okay, we'll see how they go.
Now in the centre on the right flank, basically I've got the numbers, I've got the firepower. I'm feeling quite confident with the right flank. I think the right flank is mine. Chris is going to have to look, if he's going to do a stalemate on the left flank, I could take his objective on the right. So he's seriously going to have to look at pushing in some of his resources to his side to match my right flank. So at the moment, I think I've got the upper hand on the right flank.
Okay. I reckon that your right flank is thoroughly in contest at the moment, but I guess the objective of the game is to prove me wrong on that, so we'll see how we go. Certainly I've been a lot less aggressive than I normally am, particularly with a Polish who are best used aggressively. And this little traffic jam here is going to have to get cleaned out sometime. So perhaps a bit less tactical enhancement and a bit more thinking, and I'll do something constructive. That is going to be a tough nut to crack. I have a cunning plan over on Emilio's right flank here, my left flank. No idea if it'll work, but I think if my infantry stay intact, they'll be able to dominate that flank once I get rid of those pesky machine gun carriers. Anyway, we're now in the start of the British turn 4, and these infantry are pinned, and those Milan are pinned, and that one rapier has to do a morale test to see if he stays around. So what do you want to roll for first?
The rapier. And he stays.
Oh, isn't he a fucking nuisance?
Okay.
All right, what next?
So, what morale test do you want me to do? We'll do these guys over here,
right,
yeah?
Milans. Oh, still pinned.
Still pinned. What else was pinned?
The infantry in the pub.
Here we go. And they're firing.
Ah, bastards. Now they decide to get up and get motivated. All right, well, the British still got a lot of threat and a lot of guts to them. Let's check in again at the end of turn 4. It's now the end of turn 4. I've been advancing with APCs, supporting the infantry, chewing up those infantry in the building there, down to 2 stands, so morale test in a moment. All of these APCs, I killed 2, but the rest of them are just bailed, so they'll have to do a morale test, but that's all. My strike aircraft and the chopper took out the last rapier, happy about that. Now over here, things have developed. I've moved the tanks out so that I could get some long-range shots into that building there and clear out a couple of infantry. But Emilio has redeployed his tanks to cover this flank.
Four chieftains coming.
He's pretty much shut down my prospects of advancing there. And he might try and push his luck with an advance back to here. But for now, it's the start of the British turn 5, and we will now see how much of his stuff sticks around. What are we rolling for, the infantry or the APCs?
Let's do APCs. Is it 1 dice for the lot?
Yep. Actually, correction, this is to get them back in. So that's the first one to see if he gets back in.
Yep.
Now you got another 4. And see how many get in.
All of them.
2, yeah, okay, all right, they get back in, which means they don't rout. That's rather annoying. And now the infantry, they just get 1 morale test.
Task.
Damn. Alright, the bloody bastards are still here. It's the bottom of turn 5, and I pulled some equipment back here so that if he attacks with his tanks, you will have to really risk those things. My strike aircraft turned up, finally, unbothered by rapiers, and completely missed the tanks they went for. Over here, I moved infantry into the back of the building, machine gunned and charged his infantry platoon, and cleaned out the last of those British infantry. I did take some casualties on the way, but the platoon's intact. Unfortunately, these damn transports just won't bugger off. They keep just bailing instead of dying and then rallying in the next turn. This platoon here is holding on. They keep getting machine gunned but still holding on. So it could be worse, but there's an awful lot of frustration here with just slowly chipping away at things and not quite wiping them out enough to push through. So both flanks are anyone's game. And I'll check in again at the end of turn 6. Alright, it's the end of turn 6, and an awful lot of dice flying and very little dying on either side. I've moved up my armour to try and deal with all of this stuff. My original plan was to swarm his missile carrying vehicles with infantry, but apparently far too many of them have machine guns as well, so that strategy's not going to work. Pesky little bastard light vehicles that they are. And of course, the strike aircraft didn't turn up. So, if I were to sit back and hide, make him come to me, I could have a very boring game and it would end in a stalemate. But I'm just trying to actually step up and kill some stuff now. And I've just realized that I've got an assault to try and pull off. So we'll see what happens at the end of that assault. Right, so that assault was successful. Killed one of these, what are those things anyway?
They're my Spartan MCTs.
Spartan MCTs. So I killed one with the infantry, and then the rest ran back. So the infantry got away with that. But it would seem that by falling back, he's bloody well put them somewhere even better than they were before. That's not what I had in mind. Anyway, now it's the start of the British turn. So it's the end of whatever player turn it was. We've decided to call it, and we're calling it a draw. And we've lost multiple platoons on both sides. And I've come to a conclusion. I can't field the Polish against Emilio's British army. What I didn't realise was that every single one of his dirt cheap little missile carrying units, of which he's got about 10 or so of those, they all have machine guns as well, unlike some missile units which only have the missile. So for very few points he gets an awful lot of tank busting missiles, which will also clean up infantry if the infantry advance in the open. So my whole idea of clearing up everything that wasn't a missile carrier and advancing with infantry was never going to work. In terms of force composition, the Polish just don't have enough RPGs because their basic infantry don't have them. Only the RPG specific stands have them, and the BMP ones don't get enough shots. So what I really need to field against Emilio is either, well, basically the Russians. So you get the BMP 2s as well as all the extra RPGs. The Czechs, I think, will have a hard time because I'll be pinned all day from the flying fuckload of machine guns that all those transports bring to the game.
I also think this objective has been held. This objective is truly held. I think Chris has done well to protect that flank, but he's definitely vulnerable in the centre, and he's definitely vulnerable on his left flank. There is an objective just here, and if we had one more turn, I probably would have enough to clear the centre. And the only holding position he had is in this house with how many troops?
There's 5 troops left out of a platoon of 7.
It would take me 3 turns to clear them out.
Yeah, I think if the British were to win, it would probably take 4 or 5 turns because there's vehicles there that would hold the flank.
I'd have to, you probably in 3 turns would probably look to move that platoon over to the centre, and it would still be a stalemate. So I think we did well to call it.
I think we'd be bashing heads for another 2 hours and not get a result. Not the usual game of aggressive manoeuvre I like to do, but what I've discovered here is that while the Polish are lovely aggressive infantry, they just can't do it against Emilio's British. I need to buy some more air power, although I've been encouraging Emilio to buy those new British marksmen when they get released, so that may be a slightly neutralizing exercise. But yeah, the Polish are going to struggle against this particular army. Not sure what the workaround is yet. I'll have a think about it, and being a dyed-in-the-wool masochist, I might decide to try and pitch the Polish at him again just to see if it bloody works. But otherwise, yeah, that was an interesting game. It swung both ways. As anyone's game, still is anyone's game. But But I think if this were a tournament, we'd both walk away grumbling about how few points we got because we'd be picking off the losers list for who lost the least platoons. Anyway, great game, and we will no doubt butt heads again as soon as we can. So, what have we learned?
In my particular case, not to provide one army option, which is a defence designed Brits army, which was hold the line at the back, stand and shoot. This was the wrong army for this campaign. And also, there's a lot of terrain here, there's a lot of cover, and it wouldn't have suited my army, certainly didn't provide my army with an advantage, except for the centre road. That worked well for me, for my smaller vehicles. So I probably would be looking at mixing up my army a bit more to provide some more barrage and maybe some more air support. And that's something I probably would have been, that would have been my little tweak. But otherwise, the army actually performed better than I had anticipated. So for that, I'm pleased with the outcome.
I would agree with everything you said, and all I can say is I need to buy more frogfoots. And on that note, time to call it a day.